Okay, if you have your Bibles, open them to 2 Samuel chapter 11. 11th chapter of 2 Samuel. This is one of the big chapters in the scriptures because it gives us one of the two major events in David's life. David's life is probably known for two great things. One is David and Goliath. The second is David and Bathsheba. Of course, I hear you already. It's like, when David fought the Philistine giant we all know about named Goliath, it was like, wow, this guy doesn't have a chance. And yet, he came out victorious. The other giant who beat him was a giant that was a lot more difficult. It was the giant that was within him. It was the thing that was within him. It was the battle with himself and the weakness within his own soul, the weakness in his flesh. And it was really a tragic failure as we look at this particular chapter, because it opened up the door to so many other painful experiences that he would then go through subsequently. And in fact, any one of those consequences is, if you could take it all back and look at the consequence to his action, if he could avoid, not one of the things that, there was nothing that happened to him that he would have said it was worth what I experienced. That moment of pleasure was worth it. In fact, I'm certain that if he had it all to do it over again, he would say, you know what, I would take it back in a moment. It was basically a moment of pleasure and a lifetime of pain, which is kind of brutal to think about, but it's just the reality of life, that so often we give away so much for so little. And so God gives us this picture of David, and I'm glad the Lord does that. I feel like it's really important that he does. He gives us a real picture of even his greatest servants. He lets us see the weaknesses of the greatest of men so that we can learn from them. And we never think that, well, number one, we're beyond these things. Oh, I'm so much more mature than that. That could never happen to me. The greatest of men have fallen. And if the greatest of men have fallen, then who are we to think we could do any better? And at the same time, these lessons are given so that we can learn from them. And by the grace of God, we won't repeat them. Because, again, these lessons, the consequences are so big. And so I think you know where we're kind of going with this chapter. It's not the cheeriest of chapters, I have to admit. But the lessons are profound. And so we're just going to kind of go through the chapter and trying to glean the lessons and hopefully internalize them and make them our own so we can avoid these things. And we'll start off in verse 1. In verse 1, we see the danger of idleness. It happened in the spring of the year, at the time when kings go out to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel, and they destroyed the people of Ammon and besieged Rabbah, but David remained in Jerusalem. And so staying out of trouble starts by being where we should be, not being where we shouldn't be. It was the springtime. Good time to get in a war. That's just the way they did it then. The winter was rainy, it was cold, and so nobody wanted to go out and do battle then. Let's do battle in warm weather. So they would wait till the spring, and that's when nation would fight against nation. And so at this time, David had kind of established himself. He had established his military leadership. And so instead of leading the armies out to battle himself, he stayed home. And he sent Joab in his place, because Joab was perfectly capable of leading the armies, the military. But it's in these times that these are the times that are the most dangerous for us. This is the time where David was at. The point in time where you think, you know what, I think I've done enough. I think it's time to cruise a little bit. I think it's time to lay back. I've given a lot. I've led this battle so many times. I've fought so many wars. At this point, David is about 50 years old. Not exactly a geezer, but he's 50 years old. The nation was stable. The leadership was in order. The capital city's been established. You know, so many things are put in place. And it was just that time where David said, to put it in our vernacular, I need a little me time. I just need a little time for myself. And so instead of leading the battles against our enemies, I'll just kick back and I'll let other people do the job. I would say that David would have been much safer going to battle than staying at home at the palace. He would have been in much better shape being out on the battlefield rather than kicking back in the palace. And I would take that as a warning to myself, some of us. Beware of the times where you think, man, I think I can coast at this point. I've been doing this so long now. I've been walking with God for given God so much that it's probably time for me to lay back a little bit and just relax. And those times that we're tempted to kick back and just lay low and every excuse under the book. You know, I'm just so tired now. I'm old. That's why we have this conversation. All those old guys talk about, we don't really talk about how tired we are. That's all we do. How you feeling? Tired. How are you? Tired too. You know, it's like we're all tired. So it's that time where you think, man, I've been so busy. I'm so tired. I just need to rest a little bit. Those are the most dangerous times for us. That's the time of all the things that David had been through. This is the most dangerous moment in his life, and it really does take him down in a real way. The danger of idleness is real. The second thing we see, though, is the danger of degeneracy. What I mean by that is the danger of going downhill. Taking the slippery staircase of sin down. And we're going to see it's like stairs going down one step and then down another step that's further down and down another further. Pretty soon you've hit the bottom. It is like a staircase. It's a slippery slope. Verse 2, then David said, wrong chapter. Let me come back to chapter 11. Then it happened one evening that David arose from his bed and walked on the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful to behold. So David sent and inquired about the woman, and someone said, is this not Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? Then David sent messengers and took her, and she came to him, and he lay with her, for she was cleansed from her impurity, and she returned to her house. And the woman conceived. So she sent and told David and said, I'm with child. So there's a handful of lessons in these passages. Things like these major points where you can see that, you know what? This was a place he could have turned out, but he didn't turn out. This is a place where he could have got off this road, but he didn't get off the road. And it starts with this in verse 2. It says he saw her. He was up on the roof. He got up from his siesta. He wanted to catch some cool air in the warmth of the day, afternoon. And so he goes out on the roof. Not uncommon. Nothing wrong about that. But as he's up there, he looks down and he sees a woman bathing someplace where he could see her. And this is what I'm going to call the point of decision. It's a point of decision. It's where temptation hits you, and it's not sin to be tempted. The Bible says even Jesus was tempted in all points, just as we are, yet without sin. So the sin isn't the temptation itself. The sin is when the heart and the mind begin to embrace that temptation. We resist temptation, or we embrace temptation. And in this point, David looks down, and rather than resisting temptation, he embraced the temptation. And when we embrace temptation, I don't know the point it is when it becomes sin. But I just know there's a difference between resisting temptation and embracing it. Something in the heart. And once we embrace the temptation, if we haven't sinned already, we're on the fast track to falling in deep. It's just the way it is. And so this moment for David is the point of decision. He didn't go up on the roof looking for this. It was just there. But then we get to the next point. And I'm going to call this the point of obliviousness. You know what it is to be oblivious, right? Clueless. Brain not engaged. Didn't think it through. Got stupid. Whatever you want to call it. But it says in verse 3, so David sent and inquired about her. Now he's not just seen her, but now something is emblazoned in his brain so much that he asked, hey, who lives in that house down there below the king's palace? And he gets the answer because the answer is easy. Her name is Bathsheba. She's the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite. Now, I call this the point of obliviousness because at this point, it's like this should have been a done deal. Over, we're walking away. No matter how tempting it is, it doesn't make any sense at all. Why? Because Bathsheba is connected to three men that are David's friends. She's a granddaughter, she's a daughter, and she's a wife. And we know the names of all three of these men. Her grandfather is a man named Ahithophel. Who is Ahithophel? Ahithophel is one of David's closest counselors, his confidant. The guy that he would go to when he needed good counsel, when he needed direction, when he didn't know what to do. Ahithophel was one of the guys, he was his most trusted counselor. Bathsheba was his granddaughter. She was the wife of a daughter of a man named Eliam. If you go to 2 Samuel chapter 23 in this listing of David's mightiest men, there's 37 of them. Eliam is one of those men. Eliam is one of David's mightiest men, his most faithful warriors, guy that he's been out of the trenches with. And Bathsheba's husband is a man named Uriah. Also, ironically, the last mentioned of those mighty men. So, you want to break up a relationship, a friendship pretty fast. Mess with somebody's granddaughter. Mess with somebody's daughter. Mess with somebody's wife. And you know what? I guarantee you're going to destroy that friendship. 100%. And here is this one gal that represents three, not one, not two, but three of the most significant relationships that David has in his whole life. This is not some random gal. This is the granddaughter, the daughter, and the wife of three of the most loyal and important men in your life. And that's why I call it the point of obliviousness. Because to do this to somebody like that is to be messing up multiple relationships, multiple friendships. It's like stepping on your best friend. What's happening, David? And so it's pretty oblivious, if you ask me. It's a tough one. And then here's the third thing that happens. I'm going to call it the point of disregard. The point of disregard happens because when he finds out who she is, she knows. He knows who she is. He knows who she's related to. He knows how important this gal is to three important men in his life. But it says in verse 4, then David sent messengers and took her, and she came to him. And so, regardless of what he knows about her, he disregards all that and says, hey, bring her to me. Send a messenger, send out an invite. The king wants you to come to his palace, his place. And he takes her. And it's like, in spite of all logic, common sense, and decency, David acted upon a desire. And then the last thing, the fourth thing we see is what I'm going to call the point of no return. Because it says he lay with her, for she was cleansed from her impurity, and she returned to her house. And so this is the point of return, because at this point, this is now something that can't be undone. You've done it, you can't undo it. Up to this point, you could kind of undo these things. But now it's like you can't undo this. It's like now, unfortunately, the deed has been done. The big compromise has now taken place in David's life. That's oh man, this is going to go down in the history books, David. This is a big one, unfortunately. And I don't want to speak too ill of David, other than it's here and we have to just understand it, because, man, it's not the most uncommon of things that happened in this world, unfortunately. And you might be on one side or the other, and if you're on the side of, oh man, I'm on the hurt side of it, then you can be healed. And if you're on the one that has committed the wrong, you can be forgiven. But just understand, it's always a difficult, tragic thing. There's always consequences and ripple effects and pain. In this case, verse 5, the woman conceived. So she sent and told David, said, I'm with child. And so she obviously becomes pregnant. But this whole scenario is a living picture of what James warns us about in chapter 1. Just hold your spot here. Let's just take a look at it really quick and we'll bounce right back. Because James chapter 1, verses 14 and 15. Book of James. I'm almost there. Right after the book of Hebrews. James chapter 1, verses 14 and 15. Give you a moment to get there. It's worth seeing, worth reading, worth taking in. James chapter 1, verse 14. But each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires and enticed. And when desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it's full grown, brings forth death. It's interesting that in this particular situation, you see the desire, and it was conceived, and it brought forth sin, and then ultimately that sin brought forth a child, and ultimately that child would die. It produced death. It's just like a living picture of this whole thing. And so we see David, the man after God's own heart, and he's like avoiding, he's avoiding the off-ramps to this. All the places, all the points along the way where it's like, you could bail out right here, David. You could bail out right here, David. This would be a perfect place to get off this road and turn around and go somewhere else. He just like avoided everyone to the point where he got himself in some trouble. And so now, what does he have to do? Verse 6 through 13, we've seen the danger of degeneracy. He went downhill. And now we see the danger of deception, because now David has to cover his tracks. Now that what he has done has affected more than himself, and it always did, now David has a choice to make. And this is the same choice that happens for every one of us when we sin. The choice is simple. You can confess or conceal. We can either confess what we've done, or we can try and conceal what we've done. Now, when we confess, it leads to freedom and forgiveness. But when we conceal, it leads to secrecy and bondage. Those are the choices that we make. When we get to this place where it's like, man, okay, I messed up. I sinned. The choice is to confess and be free, or to conceal and to go into bondage. And David makes a pretty clear choice, because in verses 6 through 8, there's 3 different things he does to try and cover up this problem that has now been created. In verses 6 through 8, David sent to Joab saying, "Send me Uriah the Hittite." And Joab sent Uriah to David. And when Uriah had come to him, David asked, "How's Joab doing? How are the people doing? How's the war prospering?" And David said to Uriah, "Go down to your house, wash your feet." So Uriah departed from the king's house, and the gift of food from the king followed after him. And so the first plan is this. David says, I know what I'll do. I'll just bring Uriah back from the battle line. I'll do it under the guise of just fill me in on what's going on. Give me some information. And then I'll send him to his house. And the plan is to use desire. Desire. Because any man that's been away from his wife for a long period of time is going to want to see her and want to spend time with her. And so he says, it's pretty simple. I think it's it's like, man, this is a brilliant plan. It'll work out beautifully. If he goes home, then the explanation for why she's pregnant is right there. I won't have to explain anything. She won't have to explain anything. He'll never know the difference. And so that's the perfect plan in David's mind. And it's simple. Go home and spend time with mama. Well, the plan failed because, verse 9, Uriah slept at the door of the king's house with all the servants of his lord and did not go down to his house. And when they told David, saying, Uriah didn't go down to his house, David said to Uriah, "Did you not come from a journey? Why didn't you go down to your house?" And listen to what Uriah says. Uriah said to David, "The ark and Israel and Judah are dwelling in tents. And my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are encamped in open fields. Shall I then go to my house to eat and drink and to lie with my wife? As you live and as your soul lives, I will not do this thing." The plan failed because Uriah was too honorable of a soldier. The idea of him going out and having a nice romantic meal with his wife when his commander and all his partners are sleeping in the field and battling, he says, I can't do that. I can't do that. That would be wrong. I feel terrible. So he just slept with the servants. He didn't go home. David's like, messed up my plan. The plan of desire didn't work. And so let's try something else. Verse 12. Then David said to Uriah, "Wait here today also, and tomorrow I will let you depart." So Uriah remained in Jerusalem that day and the next. And David called him, and he ate and drank before him, and he made him drunk. And at evening he went out to lie on his bed with the servants of his Lord, but he did not go down to his house. And so the second time, he didn't use desire, he used drunkenness. It's like, man, if I can just get this guy a good buzz, he will lose this sense of honor. He will go do what any husband would do, and it'll be fine. It'll work out beautifully. And here Uriah shows that he's more honorable drunk than David is sober. Because even though he's a little saucy, he's like, I'm still gonna stand my ground on what I know to do. And so plan 1 failed, plan 2 failed. So now plan 3. If desire won't do it and drunkenness won't do it, then plan 3, verse 14. In the morning, it happened that David wrote a letter to Joab. And he sent it by the hand of Uriah. And he wrote in the letter saying, "Set Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle and retreat from him. that he may be struck down and die. So it was while Joab besieged the city that he assigned Uriah to a place where he knew there would be valiant men. Then the men of the city came out and fought with Joab, and some of the people of the servants of David fell, and Uriah the Hittite died also. So if desire doesn't work and drunkenness doesn't work, then death will work. He's gonna have Uriah killed. I think the idea, F.B. Meyer said, if a child was to be born, Uriah's lips at least should not be able to disown it. Uriah won't be around to say, that's not my kid. Timeline doesn't work out. I was at battle. I was at war. And so it's a tragic, sad story. I don't know if Bathsheba ever knew about this detail. I kind of doubt it, but I don't know. I don't know. The Bible doesn't say, so I have no idea. But Uriah has to carry his own death sentence into battle. Can you imagine? You're carrying the letter that says, hey, the guy carrying this letter, put him in a place where he's going to die. Let him be killed. I mean, Joab, his general, has to carry this out. I think that changed their dynamic completely. You know, David was no longer the man he respected so much. And so that plan worked. Uriah dies in battle. And it's like, okay, David, you kind of got your way on that one. He's gone. But in the next handful of passages, we wrap up this chapter, we see the upside down world of sin. What I mean by that is the world is upside down when bad news is good news. You know, it's just upside down when something that's horrible is like, oh, that's good. That's okay. And that's kind of what we see happening here. Verses 18 through 21. From the battle, Joab has to send word back to David on what has happened. And so he's got to send it through a messenger. And this messenger is being prepared. Joab knows David. He's got to prepare his messenger to tell David the news. And so he kind of gives him the actual things to say. Then Joab sent and told David all the things concerning the war, and charged the messenger, saying, when you have finished telling the matters of the war to the king, if it happens that the king's wrath rises, and he says to you, why did you approach so near to the city when you fought? Did you not know that they would shoot from the wall? Who struck Abimelech, the son of Jerubasheth? Was it not a woman who cast a piece of millstone on him from the wall so that he died in Thebez? Why did you go near the wall? And then you shall say, your servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also. And so in preparing this messenger to speak to David, basically the messenger is going to be telling David, you know, we lost some good guys today. We chased him into the city. We chased him right up to the wall. And David, being a military man, is going, well, dummy, why'd you get so close to the wall? I mean, you were sitting ducks. One guy died because somebody has dropped a rock on his head. You set yourselves up for failure. And he just assumed that David would ask that logical question. And so when that logical question comes, just tell David, Uriah has passed away. He died. He's one of the men that died. And the messenger goes off with that instruction, with that understanding. And he shows up at David's doorstep. And in verse 22, the messenger went and came and told David all that Joab had sent by him. And the messenger said to David, surely the men prevailed against us and came out to us in the field. Then we drove them back as far as the entrance of the gate. The archers shot from the wall at your servants, and some of the king's servants are dead. And your servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also. And so bad news. We lost some good guys. Some of your servants are dead. Some of our military. And I think it's never been different. Every soldier in the Israeli army is important. Every single one of them. It's that way now. I believe it's always been there because they've always been outnumbered. They've always had, a numerical disadvantage. And so he says, bad news. Some of our guys were killed in battle. Then David said to the messenger, thus you shall say to Joab, don't let this thing displease you. For the sword devours one as well as another. Strengthen your attack against the city and overthrow it. So encourage him. So, that's the way it goes. These things happen. That's what war is like. And it's like bad news was good news to David, because the only thing that comforted him was the fact that Uriah was gone. And it's backwards, because that's what happens when we walk in sin. And so verses 26 and 27, here's another thing that looks backwards. When the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah, her husband, was dead, she mourned for her husband. And when her mourning was over, David sent and brought her to his house, and she became his wife, and bore him a son. But the thing that David had done displeased the Lord. And so in almost everybody's eyes, except maybe Joab's, David looks like a hero. He looks like an awesome king who takes this widow who's pregnant and brings her into his house and looks out for her and takes care of her and marries her and brings her into his family. And it just looks like he's a good guy. And few people are the wiser to all the things that have happened. But there's one that knew. It says the Lord was displeased at that. There's the one person that no one can fool, that you can't trick, you can't deceive, you can't pull the wool over his eyes, you can't do anything. It just never works. He's the one that sees everything. And so while maybe some other people were thinking, man, we've got the greatest king ever. He's such a good man. Look at how compassionate he is. There's one that just was not happy with it at all, and that was the Lord. And so as we kind of take all this chapter in, and I know it's a heavy chapter, and my job, I'll just give you the heavy with the light, and the fun stuff with the not fun stuff. This is just not the fun stuff, but it's a great warning that we see the thing that happens to David. And it's such a great warning for me and for us. And that is that it's just the way this whole thing works with sin. That temptation not resisted becomes sin. And then sin unconfessed leads to deception. And so sin and deception will bring about consequences. It's just the way it works. There's just consequences to things. And David didn't think it through. He didn't think through the consequences. I don't think anybody does when we're being tempted. That's why we give in to temptation, because if we did take the time to think it through, we wouldn't do it. There are 7 consequences that I think are pretty clear, and there's probably a bunch more that aren't so clear, but the first is this, obviously. This led to an unwanted pregnancy. It also led to the murder of a trusted friend and multiple other men along the way. It also led to a baby that died, because the baby that was conceived would die. It also led to a daughter that would be raped by a son. It also led to a son being murdered by a brother. It also led to a civil war that was led against him by one of his own sons. And it also led to a son who would follow in his father's footsteps and have no self-control and marry not just one, not just five, but hundreds of wives, and have 1,000 women in his life, and would lead the nation away from the God of their God. And you think, wow, that was a lot of consequences. And if he would have thought through just one of those consequences, I think he would have said, it's just not worth it. I've got a bunch of wives already. Don't need another one. But he didn't think it through. And probably the thing that I know he writes about in Psalm 32 is the fact that in this condition of kind of getting off into the weeds and doing your own thing and walking in disobedience to the Lord and then concealing it and denying it and covering it and all these things, is what it did to his relationship with God. Because that kind of thing really hinders our fellowship with God and others. It's a barrier in the spiritual life. It keeps us from so many things that God wants to do that are really good. And we end up finding life isn't good. And in David's words, this is what he said. In Psalm 32, he says, when I kept silent, and he's specifically speaking of this particular event. That psalm is dedicated to this moment in his life. And he says, when I kept silent, my bones grew old through my groaning all the day long. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me, and my vitality was turned into the drought of summer. In other words, if I were to just put it in very simple terms, it sucked the life out of him. This season of life sucked the life out of him. He had no joy. He had no peace. He was probably a real bummer to be around. It was just dark and draining. Why? Because he was concealing his sin. But that same psalm talks about the joy of when he finally confessed his sin and it was lifted and he was forgiven. And so, as dark as this chapter is, and it's a very dark chapter. It's hard I can't even tell jokes in this chapter. It's just too dark. It just doesn't work. It's not funny. But I want you to understand that as dark as it is, as dark as sin is, the grace of God and the forgiveness of God is bigger than that. And I have seen situations just like this, and even worse, forgiven and restored. And we need to know that. Just as important as it is to have these warnings so that we don't fall into this stuff, is to know that if and when it does happen, that there's a way out of it. And we have to hold on to that as well, that the cross is sufficient to bring forgiveness to every person that will call out in faith and receive that forgiveness. And so, as I look at it and wrap it up, you can close your Bibles. I think about this chapter, and as I was kind of working through it today, I realized that, man, there were so many opportunities for David to pull out of this and not go down this road that he went down. And it's like, I think the most important one, the safest one, is that if he would have just stayed in the battle, this would have never happened. If he would have just stayed engaged in the battle, he would be out with the troops. He'd be leading his men into victory. It would be glorious if he would have just stayed engaged. And I just say that because I think we are in a nation and in a season and a culture where it's like everyone works to the point where it's like, now I don't have to do anything. It's like, what are you working so hard for? So I can retire and do what? Nothing. I don't know about that. I think we stay, and I'm not against retirement. Don't get me wrong. If you are retired, that's cool. Because the godly retired people I know, like my wife, say, man, I'm busier than when I ever worked. I got so much to do. Everybody knows I'm retired now, so they ask me to do stuff. It's like, welcome to retirement. But stay engaged. Don't allow yourself that false, fake luxury, idea of luxury of like, oh, I need to have all my time to myself. Just spend your day, begin your day with, Lord, what would you have me to do? And whatever it is he shows you to do, if you have 1 hour of free time or you have 15 hours of free time, whatever it is, you ask the Lord what he wants you to do and stay engaged with the things of God. That's the safest place to be. If you kick back and relax, let everyone else do the work, it's the place that you're vulnerable to be taken down. And have people in your life who will tell you the truth. We're going to find out next week that David had people in his life that could tell him the truth. And that's so valuable. Because without people like that, we can end up in a really bad spot. We need people to tell us the truth even if it hurts. And be the person that doesn't shoot down others when they speak the truth to you in love. When somebody says something to you in love, don't put up the boxing gloves, don't put up the wall and say, I'm not going to listen to nobody. Because I find that to be so common, especially among us guys. We don't want to hear it from nobody. We won't even confess sin because I don't want anybody to know I sin. Hello? We all know you sin. We all do. But to just have those kind of friendships. You don't need a bunch of them. Maybe just one or two or three. But if you have people in your life that will just speak the truth to you, you're gonna be okay. Stay engaged and have people in your life that will tell you the truth. Be in accountability, be in fellowship. You'll be all right. So, yeah, let's just be careful. Because we have a big old giant within us too. And I can tell you right now, if it wasn't for the grace of God, I would go exactly down the road David did. I'm no better than him at all. In fact, I'm worse than him. So I got to be double more careful. And so let's all learn from this. Let's just be humble and learn the lessons we need to learn. We'll be better off for it. Right? Let's pray. Lord, we do thank you again. We pray, Lord, as we wrap up this time, I do thank you that you do give us painful truth. You do show us things that are not easy to see, but are necessary for us to see. Because if we don't see them, if we close our eyes and pretend that it's not there in our lives, or it's not around us, or we're not susceptible to us, we're the most deceived. We need to see things as they are in truth. And I thank you that you give us truth every day. And I pray, Lord, that even if it's not necessarily this, it's not what we see today, but it could be anything that we keep hidden and concealed, that keep us from walking in freedom and in truth. Lord, we want to be free from that. And so I pray for my brothers and my sisters, every one of us, if there's anybody here that needs to come to you and do what David ultimately did, confess and be free. Maybe it's not sexual sin. Maybe it's pride. Maybe it's anger. Maybe it's some other thing that we just know it holds us back from you. Keeps us. And we don't want to carry that anymore. And so, Lord, I pray if there's anybody in this place today that needs to turn to you and place their faith in you and the work that you finished for them on the cross, that today would be the day that they receive completely your forgiveness and your grace and your mercy. Because of the death and the resurrection of your Son, we have an opportunity to be free. Pray that we'd walk in that. If you're here today and you would say, you know what? That's me. I need to come before the Lord in honesty and in confession and receive his mercy and forgiveness. If that's you, I'm going to invite you right where you're at to stand up to your feet, and I want to lead you in prayer. The Lord wants to meet you. He wants to forgive you. He wants to do a work in your heart and life. And it might not be sexual sin. I don't want you to think I can't do it because it was all about sexual sin. Believe me, the enemy uses a lot of other things than that. But whatever it is, if you know, man, I'm going down the road that David was going down, I'm going to ask you right where you're at. Get up out of your seat, stand to your feet, and we're going to pray. And the Lord's going to meet you. And he's going to forgive you. And he's going to start a work in your heart and life. It's going to be good. And so that's you right now. This is your invitation. Get up out of your seat, stand to your feet, and we'll pray. God bless you. Anyone else? There's no shame in this either. Don't think that this is such a heavy message. If I respond today, I must be one of the worst of sinners. No, we're all worst of sinners. Every one of us is. But if you know the Lord is speaking to you today, and it's time to make things right with God, then get up out of your seat, stand to your feet. We're going to pray. Anyone else? That's great. Awesome. Well, you who are standing, I'm going to invite you to pray with me. Just repeat this prayer word for word. The Lord hears you. He's going to minister to you. Let's pray. Just say these things. Repeat after me. Heavenly Father, I come before you and I seek your forgiveness, Lord. I need your mercy. Thank you for sending Jesus to die on the cross for my sin. I believe he's risen. And I surrender myself to you. Cleanse me. And make me white as snow. And help me to walk with you each and every day. In Jesus' name. Amen.